Hey now, how is everybody doing? This is Time with Tanya, and I wanted to come on really quick because there's something that happened this week that disturbed me, and I wanted to provide some support the best way I can. What I typically teach, share, and show is a way of helping people get through some of the chaos that they're experiencing. So I want to give you this warning before we begin. This is a trigger warning. If you are triggered by conversations about mental health depression, it is time for you to go search for something else on YouTube. If you are triggered by discussions about suicide, it is time for you to go search for someplace else on YouTube. But I really hope you stay and hear me out because the insight that I want to share may just give you the tweak that you can support someone else if it's not for you. I want to also preface this by saying that I am a certified organizational assessment coach. I am not a therapist. The information that I'm giving you is information that I have used specifically with my clients and myself. Because the story that I'm talking about that brought tears to my eyes a little bit was a woman out of Texas that decided that there was something so horrifying about her divorce. Because having gone through my experience of divorce, I understand that pain. I understand the process of how you walk through some of those things. Sitting there, I don't know how I'm going to get to the next day because I've been there. I also know what it is like to be in a position where you think that the only solution is to end it. I want you to know that you should not make long-term solutions for temporary problems and the chaos that divorce often brings, that traumatic emotional experience, the emotional roller coaster ride, the depressed moment that we often find ourselves in. Some of you know my story about where I found myself in the aftermath of my divorce on the bathroom floor of my two-bedroom apartment trying to decide if I still wanted to do this thing called life. What I did not know then that I'm really clear about now, which is why I decided to become certified in what I typically teach, is because I needed to quickly discover why was I spiraling out? What could I do to effectively pull myself out of that situation? So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I teach my clients, and this will be a support for you, hopefully, if you're in that situation. One of the first things I often share so that you don't end up in the space where she did, killing herself and her child. She had herself recorded to have her 3-year-old tell their daddy bye-bye. And I don't know all of her circumstance, but what I do know about some of the elements with that personality style is what I often find with some of my clients that are loving, supportive, and giving. You're the action-oriented individual. You usually want things to go well, and you are usually putting yourself in a position where you're trying for everybody around you. And if you find yourself in a traumatic experience like a divorce, ripping all of those pieces apart, taking all of your personal foundation, the floor that you used to stand on that kept you whole, it may have been a rocky floor because for some of us, our divorce, that marriage was rocky to begin with. To end up in a place of divorce, there's some familiarity that you're missing. Even though we knew it was tattered, even though we knew it was messed up, even though we knew it was not the best situation sometimes for us, there was something familiar. That familiarity tapped into a piece of us that gave us comfort. That familiarity may have also tapped into a piece that you were longing for in your past. And the divorce triggered something, something that was not in the here and now, something that absolutely probably had nothing to do with your marriage to begin with. That's what landed me on the bathroom floor of my two-bedroom apartment. My divorce triggered me hearing once again from my past, Tanya, you're not good enough. You can't make this. You have some things that's going on with you. You don't relate to the world like everybody else does. How are you really going to make it? Oh, so you're another one of those Black single mother. I did not want to have any of those labels, any of those past words infiltrate my future. But on the aftermath of my divorce, that's what I felt. And if she found herself in that position, being a loving, supportive, caring person that usually goes out and does for everybody else, when you see that your situation is not as stable and there is not an action step that you can take, something that you control, somehow that you can manage, To make it work, you spiral out. You spiral out on what I typically call your conflict sequence. Your conflict sequence is where your vision of how to make some clear decisions gets narrower and narrower as you spiral down emotionally. When you're in stage one, you can still see some of the big picture because you're concerned about what happens with those that are around you. You still want to make certain that you're okay, but you will pay attention to some of the elements in the environment that you're situated in. That is the best stage to try to catch yourself from spiraling down. But you got to recognize what that is because stage one looks different for everybody. For some, and I'm guessing for her, that her stage one was probably accommodating the ex and what was asked during the divorce, accommodating her family, friends, and loved ones while she tries to soothe them through her pain, through her process, through her chaos. When you are the person that tries to support everybody around you through your difficult moments, you got to pause. You have to pause and do a self-check on yourself. So let me start with that first stage right there for the person that accommodates everybody around you. If that is your normal state and you find yourself there, I want you to start giving yourself a timetable. If you want to help somebody out or accommodate their needs beyond your own, give yourself a 6 hour window. I say 6 hours because you're going to bypass it. And by the time you think about the 6 hours, it will probably be 10 hours later. But at least it'll be a thought in your mind that I'm supposed to pause in this moment to do something for me. And I need you to then do something for you. Here's one other thing that you can do when you remember to get out of that moment. Ask someone to do one something for you. And to prepare you for that, I like for you to write down a list. Write a list of the things that you need done. It's already overwhelming you. You're already thinking about it. Just write it down. For me, when I was going through this situation, what would have supported me had I known then, but I didn't. So I'm sharing with you now in case you were where I was. I did not know what to ask people to do because there were a microcosm of individuals in my world that would ask me, Tanya, what do you need help with? And my emotional well-being would not let me respond. I could not think, what do I need help with? So while you're thinking about it, in those moments of, I really wish I can get somebody to help me with this, or I am tired of doing this one thing, write that down. When you write that down, you already have a list. So that when you're in that conflict sequence, before you spiral down too far, and you need to ask someone, this will interrupt your pattern because you have to interrupt your pattern of constantly accommodating everybody around you so that you can get some help. And when you find the people that are willing to help you, give them the list. You don't have to really talk about it. Say, this, I can't think right now, but here, what can you do on this? When you see them actually step in, it gives you a different trigger that will interrupt your pattern. It will let you know you're not by yourself. Because for individuals that are always accommodating, always giving, always supporting, you often feel like you're by yourself. And because you may be the one that everybody goes to, because that was my position. I didn't know how to ask for help because I was the help. I did not know how to get someone to walk me through the journey because I didn't have anybody that was walking in the middle of my journey. So it is difficult when you find yourself being the number one go-getter and not have anybody do it for you. Pause and allow yourself the space and grace that you give to others. So make the list in advance. Because if you walk through accommodating, you'll have the list to interrupt your pattern and to give when someone is there. And when you see them start operating in it, it'll shift you. It'll shift you to a space where you'll begin to be like, okay, I got some help. And then you'll join in with whatever they're doing for you anyway, because that's how you're built. You're helpful, you're supportive, you're giving. It's in you, and it's okay. But don't think you got to do this by yourself because it's what happens when people spiral further down, thinking that they're all alone. Nobody understands your journey. Nobody really knows your walk or your talk. You can't really explain your situation because it's so unique. I want you to know because of how we are designed in a human construct, there's an element of your being that connects with the element of someone else's being. That is why when we show up here on YouTube, there's something that resonates because a piece of me is directly connected to a piece of you. And I'm praying right now that this moment in time, if you are walking through my paths, that you do not step on the landmines that I've already crossed. Get the help that you need. Find out what your conflict sequence is so that you don't spiral too far to a position that this woman found herself in. And if you know someone, how you can help them, here are a few words to quickly identify. Because if they can't identify for themselves, this is what you can hear to help you identify them in conflict. They will often say, "Oh, it's okay. No, I have it. I don't really need any help. Oh, you're probably too busy. I didn't want to bother you." If you hear something similar to those words, that person is in conflict and they don't know how to ask for help. So offer. You know them well enough. There's something that you know that you can do. Just do it. Ask for forgiveness later. Don't worry about permission right now because they need the help. There are some people, if you're like me, in that moment I had too much pride to want to ask for the support that I needed. And it was pride that was holding me hostage. It was pride that put me on that floor. It was pride that almost cost me to end it. I'm thankful that my solemn grace is the fact that I have another element in me that causes me to pause because my natural, logical, analytical mind kicked in that moment. And it was the pause of the kick in of what I already have that gave me the chance to say, I need help, Lord. Jesus was the only one I felt I could ask for help in that moment because I'd already asked for help from all of my friends and family. I had no one else that I could really go to. And the few people that I thought would be there for me, who once told me, if you need me, Tanya, call me. And I did, and they didn't. That's the part right there that put me on the bathroom floor. I had nowhere I felt I could turn. I had no other resources I thought would be available to me. But my small moment of letting my logical mind pause me. I heard my grandmother say, if you ever find yourself in a position that you think is bigger than you, then you go to someone bigger than you. God is bigger than anything that we will ever encounter. And if you put your mind on the God that created the universe, if He created all that there is, your situation is something minute. He can help you through it. And I didn't initially recognize that because at that moment, I was having a spiritual identity crisis. I wasn't really sure that God wanted to help me in my small moment. So I didn't ask, I didn't reach out. But before I hit the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, I said, Jesus. Because no matter how far down you think you can go, God will reach down deeper to get you. And that is how I got up off that floor. Cleared up some of the things that I put in place that I thought I needed to say I'm done. Sat on the edge of my bed and cried. I think I cried every tear, but every year I refused to cry because when I was going through some of the stuff in my past, the chatter that I was hearing in the back of my mind that my ex just dredged up from the recesses of my soul, I cried for all those years that Tanya refused to. And it gave me a release. And it helped me find solace in the soul of who God put inside of me. And Jesus met me in that moment. If that is a place that you can tap into sooner, do it. Because had I tapped into the resource that God was already offering me, I might not have spiraled out. And now that I am aware, which is why I went on this long journey to get certified to teach what I teach. So, what I share with individuals, elements of the focus areas to support you out of the chaos, giving you insight about who you are when things are going well and how you can function in your conflict sequence when things go south. I did that intentionally. And if you find yourself in a position where something that I've said today resonates with you and you're not sure and you want to just get an idea, reach out to me. Tag in below the comments and say, Tanya, I need it. And I will reach back. If you want to set up some time with me, you can go to my website, tanyaehud.com. Under the Contact Me tab, there's my email address and a schedule. Reach out to me. And if you don't feel comfortable at all, please call the Suicide Crisis Hotline. You can dial 988. There are people that are there that will support you. And I'm hoping that you do not allow yourself to walk down a path where you make a temporary decision as a long-term solution when you're in a temporary moment, because joy is coming. Things will get better. There is life after divorce, and you do not have to walk this alone. Hoping that this supports you. Take care, everyone. See you next time.